Hello and welcome to the Care Counsel Series. My name is Rebecca Spinner and I'm an attorney with the law firm of Surprenant Beneski and Nunes. We are estate planning and elder law attorneys, and I'm here today with Ruth McNaughton. She's a geriatric care manager with the company Comfort Keepers. And today we're going to be talking about the Medicare and rehab trap. And this is really an area of expertise for Ruth. She has a lot of experience, and Ruth, you'll be able to talk a little bit about that, but there's a lot of, I think, confusion about Medicare and rehab days and what people, can actually qualify for and all of those things. So I'm really looking forward to getting your insight on that today.
Thank you, Rebecca. Nice to see you again. It's a pleasure to be here. In my role as, a home care company and a geriatric care manager, prior to that, I oversaw case management departments in hospital settings. So that's really the department that determines all of these factors. So I look forward to sharing this information today.
Wonderful. So can you start, Ruth, just by explaining that 3 midnight rule and why it matters for rehab coverage? I think a lot of us have heard of this rule before and we don't necessarily know what it means. So I'd love to get a little more insight on that.
Sure. So in order for your traditional Medicare to cover an inpatient rehab stay, you have to have a 3 midnight hospitalization. And by 3 midnight, it means that your stay has to cover over 3 midnights from the time of admission to the time of discharge. And the time of admission is when the doctor writes the admission order, not when you walk into the emergency room or come out of the operating room. And from there, you have to have a qualifying stay and a reason to go to a rehab setting for Medicare to be able to cover that. They do not cover if it is just custodial care. You have to have a skilled need, which is nursing oversight, medical oversight, physical, occupational, or speech therapy. And in order for that 3 midnight to count, it has to be in an inpatient status.
Okay, so I just heard the term inpatient status. I've also heard of observation status. So can you explain what observation status is and how that can ultimately cost families thousands of dollars if they're not aware of these different terms and what they mean?
Sure. So observation is really defined as a period of time to determine if you need to be admitted to an inpatient status or discharged to home. So it's usually your lower acuity reasons to be in the hospital. So chest pain to rule out a heart attack, symptoms to rule out a stroke. A lot of ruling out goes on. And when you rule in for something, that's when you become an inpatient. That period of time should not really go over 24 hours, but it can. And the hospital is required to give you a notice from Medicare at the time of admission stating that you are in an observation status. That status goes under Medicare Part B because it's considered an outpatient status. And what that does is it impacts your copays, your coinsurance, your out-of-pocket expenses on the Medicare side. And the same applies if there's a Medicare Advantage plan in place. The out-of-pocket expenses can change. But the Medicare Advantage products also can change the rules about the 3 midnight rule.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, is there anything you as the geriatric care manager can do in these circumstances to kind of help a family navigate that? If the hospital says there's still observation status and it's been over 24 hours, like what kind of should they do at that point?
Yeah, so a geriatric care manager can help in that instance if they have experience in the criteria that determines are you observation or inpatient status. So, people make mistakes, and all of those statuses are determined by not only a doctor's order, but also nurses in the background who are reviewing the clinical data, communicate with the doctors, and then determine, oh, this is an observation, an outpatient status, or this patient should be inpatient. again, people can make mistakes. So you really want to verify that the level of care is accurate. And an experienced care manager can help with that, which can save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, just doing that alone. But then that can also impact having an inpatient rehab stay if you
Right.
really do, qualify to be in an inpatient status. And that can mean, tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket expenses saved. Because if you're in an observation status and you really do have to go to rehab, you're looking at paying out of pocket for that. And that can be $16,000 a month.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have heard from some of our clients is sometimes the facility that they're trying to go to says there are no beds. At that point, what should a family be doing? What are their rights in that
Yeah.
circumstance?
So technically, the hospital is required to give you three choices on facilities, and you may have a first choice of where you prefer to go, but you always have to have a backup plan. And nobody wants to stay in the hospital longer than they need to be there. You're going to get more rehab in an actual rehab setting. But it's not reasonable for hospitals to send you 50 or 60 miles away where a spouse may not be able to visit.
Right.
So having that, three facilities, what they call screen a patient and look at the clinical criteria and look at their bed capacity, will, 9 times out of 10 is going to give you at least that top three choice. If there's nothing in, a local geographic area and it's a matter of a bed opening up, then, there are circumstances like that where you would stay in the hospital for an extra day or two until that bed is available.
Great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for explaining all of that to us. I think it was really helpful. I think that these Medicare rules can be really confusing. And thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you in the next video.
Thank you.